Okay, here we go, 1119. But of those who are rightly in their good health, not less they should be considered the reasoning about them, their considerations for them, so that they can have their food and drink without being defrauded by the guy in charge of the pantry or whatever, so that the people who are in good health get their right food and they aren't stole from, basically. And the rusticos, the people around the la is the household gods of their master in the fireplace. Okay, so usually the lars from Plautus we see actually sort of live in the fireplace. Anyway, so it looks like at night time they come in, they sit around the fireplace. They should always, the familiarum, a slave should epulare, means to feast or eat, in sight of them. So now we're going, someone's inside of them. It looks like it's the master. He's going to eat, and similarly he'll eat with them and be an example of frugality. Nec, so neither, unless it's a sacred day or holy day, should he dine lying down, and he should agate, he should conduct himself on these festival days, so that quemque, whoever is the bravest or strongest and the most superlative of being frugal, he'll follow this up with large largations, which are gifts. And on never, so sometimes even, he will invite them to the table, and hibiat means, apply to the table, come to the table. And he should want to give honours also to other people. There's other honours to these people. 20. Then even through these holidays, the rustic instruments of the farm, without which no work's able to be done, he should recognise these, more like look at them, and rather often he should inspect the iron ones. So I guess pails and things are real instruments, and things like hammers, spades and picks are the harder tools. And he should also procure them in duplicates, so he should have two of everything or more than what they need. And subindi, from time to time, he should be in charge of refecting them or repairing them, so that if something is in the works being done, there's a fault in it, of vitia, it can be sought from a neighbour, because there's more something in calling away of the slaves from their work than in the price which will be spent in buying another one of them, I guess. 21. Coltam and vestitam. So the gear and clothing, familiar, the slaves or workmen, they more should be considered to be something useful than delicate. This is, rather diligently, from the cold and the rain, they fortify the wearer from these things, which utraque, which both of them can be prohibited. Both the cold and the rain can be stopped by optimus, which is best, optimus bestimus. Pelibus is skins or things made from animals. Medicus maniacatis means it goes to the wrist, basically the sleeves extend. And cucullus are hoods. Sajacius, something to do with hoods, probably means thick or something. Can't see too much about that anywhere in dictionaries. Anyway, and so this should happen. Paeani again is almost all winter days in this way will be able to be tolerated in the work. So if they've got these long-sleeved cloaks and hoods, etc., it should keep them from the cold and the rain. So therefore, correlatives tam quam, just as much as the clothing of the slavey, and as I said, of the iron tools, fermenta, twice ought to be, in all months, recensurate, gone over, inspected, etc., counted even. For frequent recognition, frequent inspections, neither gives a hope of impunity or disobeying, nor does it offer a place of peccanding, which is sinning or wrongdoing by the slaves. 22. And so, the mancipia vincta, mancipia is something you own, so the slaves that you own, which are of the Augustulus, which is the prison house where slaves who work. There's different types of slaves. So these aren't really just your normal slaves. These are ones who are locked up in a prison for working. Cottade daily. They ought to be cited name by name, call them out, make sure they're all there, and they should be explored, inspected, so that diligently, the way they're tied up in their conpetibuses, in their chains around their ankles, etc. These are done, and then even the seat of their custody, the rooms where they're locked up, to make sure which means whether they are safe, and recti munited, whether they're fortified properly, no holes in the wall, etc. Neck. Neither if whom his master or himself is chained up, without order of the head of the family, he should not resolve him. He shouldn't release him if either he or his master tied him up. Sacrifices, unless from instructions of the master, he should not do them, fakare them. Horospices and sage-jams. Horospice is a soothsayer, maybe he looks at entrails, and a sage-jam, another type of important sort of religious sort of person. He shouldn't know them of his own accord, sponte, of which both of these generas, both of these types, infest minds with superstitions, vain superstitions. So a crude mind is an empty mind, basically. You don't want to fill the heads of the slaves and people with nonsense about looking at birds and entrails. 23. Not the city, not any nundininas, whatever they are. They're a 9-day market. That costs them 9. I guess they have a fair every 9 days. You shouldn't go there, Nissi, unless got some gerunds here for selling or buying. Causa is post positive to a double genitive. For the sake of buying necessary things or selling necessary things, he should not frequent there. Enim, 4, bit of a reason why he shouldn't go away. For neither he ought to egress or go out from the terminals of the colony, from the edges of the farm or whatever, either in his absence, because this would give space to the datives, to a slave, of ceasing and being delinquent, of not doing work, basically. Some mitres, paths, and new limits, new boundaries ought to be prohibited. There's a subjunctive there to happen. Should prohibit these paths, and I guess you put stones and mark trees, etc. for the boundaries. These ought not to be done in the fields or on the land. Hospite, the guest, unless he is out of a friendship of the master, he should receive them very rarely, unless it's a friend of the master. Administeria sua, to his own purposes and jobs, he should not adhibiat. We saw this for the mensa. When you invite someone to the table here, he shouldn't apply one of his conservos, one of his fellow servants, to some sort of private business, nor ought they to go beyond any of the boundaries. They shouldn't go past that, unless he's forced to, or great necessity forces it, literally. Shouldn't be permitted. 24. The pecunia, the money of the master, neither into flock animals nor into other rebuses, other things, can be occupied in getting this kind of merchandise. There's the merch there. So we shouldn't use his master's money to buy anything. 4. This kind of these matters call him away from his care of duty of being the vilicus, the bailiff, for the overseer, I like to call him, and he's doing negotiorum, that's like a merchant's work, rather than that of a farmer. Nor ever should he allow him to do things paria, equal in the accounts of the master, so he shouldn't be fooling around in his master's accounts, really. Said Ubi, but when numum is numerated, when coins are all counted up, I guess if you've acted as a businessman and you've bought flocks instead of the money, you'll be showing a res, you'll be showing these things that are bought instead of the coins. And so, tam quam. Just as much these things should be avoided of having things instead of money, which by Hercules should flee. So just as much as you should flee hunting and the studium of catching birds, you should avoid this habit of buying things, which will call you away. So if you're an avid hunter or a bird catcher, it'll call you away from most of your work you're supposed to be doing. Now, as for Sagiacus, we've got lots of concordance things of referring to Columella, but there's no actual dictionary entry I could see for it. Could be Sagiasis, but it's meant to be a thick garment, so it doesn't really fit that. Sagiax, Sagias, is nothing there either. Okay. Stop.